Morning everyone. I'm really pissed off today. Saturday morning, and I was booked in for my MRI scan. For those of you that follow me, you'll know that I've been waiting for this for a long time. I went for my MRI referral back in July because of my neck pain, and we're now October. And I've been waiting weeks and weeks and weeks for this. And I had a nightmare in the beginning anyway, let alone waiting for this scan, because the way I was treated at A&E was horrendous. And another thing I find hilarious is the fact that, I shouldn't really complain, because obviously I do need the painkillers that I'm on, so I'm not going to knock the fact that I've got them. But it just shows you the incompetence, because if you're on prescription painkillers long term, like I've been, doctor's supposed to see you every so often just to check in with you, make sure that you're getting on okay with them and that there's no problems, and make sure that obviously you still need them because they're highly addictive and they're not good for you long term. I submit my request online for my medication each week, and each week they just roll them out to me. No phone call, no checking in with me to say, oh, Miss Powell, I've noticed you've been on these for quite a long time now. Come in for an appointment. And I know all this because I used to be on prescription medication quite some years ago for my back until it got better and I was able to come off them. So I know all the rules. I know they're supposed to, because they used to have appointments with me on a fairly regular basis to check that they were still happy for me to take them. I've had nothing. So I just go online and I just order it and they just keep giving it to me. Don't you think by this point that they should be checking in with me and making sure that I actually still need them, considering I'm on opioids and there is an opioid problem massively, not just here but in America as well. Now obviously I do genuinely need them. So like I said, I'm glad I've got them, but it just goes to show you the lack of care, the fact that no one has checked in with me in 3 months and they just keep happily prescribing me these things. And I've waited all this time for my MRI scan, and I was treated really badly at A&E. And then I get there this morning, and it turns out that they had me down for 8 o'clock, and I was written down in my calendar for 8:30. So basically, they turned me away. Yeah, they basically said that because I was 20 minutes late. Now in my book I was 10 minutes early because I got there at 20 past, and they wouldn't see me. Now, to be fair to the staff member, he did ring through to the main department because the MRI scanner is not attached to the hospital, it's in some metal unit, and he did ring through and see if there was any way that they could fit me in, but they said no. So I'm at the stage now where I think, fuck it, I'm not going to bother. My neck is getting better on its own anyway. I think I'll either pay for a private MRI scan, look into that and see how much it'll cost me, or just not bother. So really annoyed today. Really, really annoyed, because I could have done with the extra sleep. I really could have. I'm so tired. Another bad night. As you know, I didn't get much sleep the previous night. I only had 4 hours, and I didn't have a great night last night either. And now it turns out that I didn't need to go. So I am really annoyed. So there you go. Yeah, I don't know what there's else to say really, other than I'm just pissed off, and I wanted to to just rant. So yeah, I'm going to look into how much it costs for a private scan. I don't know if you can pay for just a one-off or whether you have to like join a private, like pay for, you know, sign up for private healthcare to get it. But because I'll be back at the bottom of the pile now. It'll probably be like another 2 or 3 months. He gave me a number and he said, oh, because they're admin based, they're only Monday to Friday, so you'll have to wait and ring them on Monday morning. I was like, yeah, thanks. I'm so annoyed. The other thing that annoyed me was where I'm currently parked is in the middle of a new build estate, because I didn't want to pay for the hospital car parking charges because they're extortionate, as you know, they always are. But looking on the map, there was a new build estate nearby, and it was only going to be about a 10-minute walk. So I thought, right, I'll park up in that. I could see on the map that there was this road, that if I parked on that road, it actually took you down to the road that the MRI scanner metal unit was supposedly on. So I thought, oh, fantastic. I'll just park up on that residential bit and then walk along, and it should be there, because looking at the map, it is exactly where the lady told me it would be. So parked up in this cul-de-sac, walked to the bottom of the road, and it's all barricaded off. Because it's new build estate, they've barricaded it off with a load of like new build partitions, and they've closed the road. So it will no longer be a road that runs all the way through, because they're changing the whole layout around here. And again, didn't see that on a map because obviously it wouldn't be updated yet. So that annoyed me, because it then meant I had to go the long way round, out onto, basically out of the new build estate onto the main road, and then walk along the main road and then take the next exit down into the hospital estate. So I had to walk. I mean, I wasn't running. First of all, I'm 40. I'm not running anywhere. And second of all, I'm in too much pain to run anywhere. So I brisk walked. And it was really cold this morning. So I've got my scarf on. I've got my coat and my hat. And I brisk walked. And by the time I got there, I was sweating. And I was like, if I don't take my coat off, I'm going to keel over. But yeah, I had to sit down for a minute whilst they rang through and checked if they could fit me in. And I was just like, I'm so sweating. But at least I could take my time walking on the way back. But yeah, basically, that's it. I'm going to look into private MRI. And if it's too much money, I mean, obviously I'm expecting it to be a lot, but it's just whether I can afford it. If I can't, then I'm just going to say, fuck it. When you, do you know what? I've had such a bad experience pretty much my whole adult life with the NHS. I really have. I know they are under-resourced, understaffed. I know on an individual level, the members of staff work their arses off. They really do. They work their arses off. They work over their shift hours. They're treated, really badly. The pay is I mean, obviously I don't know. I've never been a member of NHS staff, but supposedly it's not very good for what they do. I get all that. But I can only speak from a patient point of view, and I suffered with my back for years. All through my 20s I suffered with my back, and they wouldn't listen to me. They didn't listen to me. I kept going and going and going, and I was just turned... Do you know, one time I went and they just prescribed me ibuprofen gel. I can buy that myself in a freaking shop. They just prescribed me ibuprofen gel. And I was just like... I'm struggling to walk. I'm walking with a limp, and this is like my early 20s, right? And it was going so frequently, and I was having to. I've seen, apart from a chiropractor, because I refuse to. They don't appeal to me. Personal choice. I just think you shouldn't be manipulating your bones like that. I know some people, swear by it, but I just don't want to take that risk. But I've seen osteopaths, I've had sports massage, I've seen physiotherapists, and every time my back went, and throughout my 20s, my back just got worse and worse and worse, and it was going more and more frequently, and I was spending a fortune on all these appointments. And even with a letter written by my osteopath insisting that I have a scan, And she gave it to me and said, go back to your doctor again, give them this letter and tell them that as a professional, I'm strongly advising that you need an MRI. Because by this point, I think I was about 29, something like that. And she said, it is not normal that you are having this, this many problems with your back. It's like, it shouldn't be going this frequently. And I was like, I know. So I gave them the letter. And do you know what they told me? I was seen by a nurse because, as per usual, can't get an appointment to see an actual GP, just saw a nurse. And she said, I gave her the letter, and she said, I'm going to need to just nip out a second and speak to one of the doctors because I don't have the authority to, refer you for one. She went out. She was gone for a good 10 minutes. And then she come back in the room and she basically said, I've spoken to the doctor. They still won't refer you for an MRI scan. Hold on. I'm just going to change hands a sec because my hand is getting tired. Said, still won't refer you for an MRI scan. And I said, why? And she told me a load of bollocks. She said to me, because MRI scans are designed to pick up issues with bones, and your problem is likely musculoskeletal, and it doesn't pick up muscle tissue problems, it only picks up bones. What a pile of shit. She must have thought I was born yesterday. MRI scan picks up any problems. It will pick up problems with muscles, with nerves. It sees everything. It's not just for bones. X-ray is for bones. MRI picks up, you will be able to tell from an MRI scan whether you've got any problems with pinched nerves or anything like that. Hence why I'm supposed to be having one today. So she lied to me. Literally, and this is GP practice, right? Lying to me. And I left it, and basically I got to 33 years of age and my back went so badly, like it went as bad as it had ever been, like, gone in my life. It took me best part of 18 months to get back to any form of normalcy. I was that bad. I was walking on 2 walking sticks. I was struggling to get up and down the stairs. Sometimes I would get halfway up the stairs and I'd have to stop because I was in so much pain, and I'd be crying to try and get upstairs to the toilet, and I'd be stopped halfway up the stairs thinking, like, I'm just in agony and I'm not going to make it. I was on really strong prescription medication. My life was hell. It was absolute hell. That's when I had to start buying myself adaptations for my house and a riser, motor, armchair, and all this kind of thing. And again, no support, no help, but no signposting me to anything, any of these things that I might, that might improve my life and help me. I had to learn about all this stuff myself. Like, I had to do my own research and buy everything myself. And I didn't even know that some of these, sock slider, right? There's this thing called a sock slider, and it's literally a little sort of device that helps you put your socks on. I didn't even know such a thing existed because I didn't have a need to know. But as you start needing these things and you start researching yourself, you suddenly discover that there's all these things out there that can help you. And I had to do it all myself, and I bought all these things myself. And my armchair alone cost me over £1,000. And you have to bowl it, and I've had to have a comfort height toilet put in and a level access shower put in my house. All these things. I don't qualify for DFG because I earn too much. So I've had to buy all this stuff myself, and I've had to help myself this whole time and buy everything I need. And I ended up paying private to get an MRI scan. Now, luckily, it was subsidised because the job I had at the time, one of the benefits was that I got free healthcare, but you had to pay a percentage. It was subsidised healthcare. Got an MRI scan, and lo and behold, oh look, you've got spondylosis, you've got herniated discs, your pelvis is out of alignment, you've got a damaged facet joint in the base of your spine. The day I got my results, I can remember driving home it was a specialist hospital. I had to go to a spinal consultant at a specialist hospital for this scan. And I can remember driving home with my results, and I cried on the way home because I had been waiting for years. And to finally be told what was wrong, after years of being turned away and told that you're too young to have a problem with your back and we don't believe you, and, being made to feel like I was a liar. And I just wanted to drive to my GP surgery and burst in there and just slam my results down on the table and tell them, fuck you, told you there was something wrong. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was great to get the results, because now I actually knew that I wasn't crazy, that there was actually something wrong. But at the same time, I was so angry. I mean, it's like also like with I mean, that's one of the reasons I have such a distrust for the NHS. And then a few years ago, when I was diagnosed with my OCD and my anxiety, and I had a breakdown. I was off work for months, and I was in therapy trying to get myself better. And I was told by my GP, because one morning I was so bad that because they gave me medication for my anxiety, and I really didn't want to take it, because I was already taking so much on top of, for my back pain. I was already taking so much prescription stuff. I didn't want to take anything else. But I'd gotten so bad. I was paralytic with fear. I couldn't even leave the house, right? My anxiety was so bad. And I turned up at the doctor's surgery one day, absolutely, like, they had to put me into it. I couldn't even wait in the normal waiting room because I was in such a state. They had to put me in a side room. And I got seen by this nurse, and she gave me that usual stupid check that they give you, which is a quick questionnaire, generic questions to test your mental state, which is just so, it's not, personally tailored. It's so generic. And she basically went, yeah, you've got anxiety and depression. And I said, I don't have depression, I'm not depressed. And she said, well, that's not what this says. I was like, all right, I'm depressed then, according to you. I wasn't. But anyway, she prescribed me something for my anxiety, and I did say to her, I don't like taking prescription meds. I'm already on enough as it is. I really don't like taking things that make me feel out of control. I don't like feeling not myself. What kind of side effects is this going to have? Because I was really nervous about taking it. And she turned around and said, it doesn't give you any side effects. It's it doesn't make you feel funny or anything like that. It will take a few weeks to work, but once it takes effect, you'll just feel nice and calm, and you'll just start to feel slowly better, was how she worded it. To the effect of, obviously I can't remember her exact wording. So anyway, I took it, and that night I was up violently ill. I was being sick, I had the shakes, I was hallucinating, I was seeing things standing at the bottom of my bed, no joke. I was so scared. I was like, I can remember lying there thinking, like, I'm going to die. Whatever it is she's given me, I'm obviously having some kind of really bad reaction to, but I was seeing things, and I was just broke out in a sweat. I was being sick. And so I rang the doctors first thing, because they don't open till 8. And I was lying there in bed, really upset. My partner at the time had already gone to work. So I was on my own, and I couldn't get out of bed. And I rang them from my bed at 8 o'clock. And spoke to... Well, they arranged for a doctor callback. I explained the situation. I mean, I was in tears on the phone to them, and I explained the situation. And they said, okay, get a doctor to call you back. And this doctor rang me back, and he was asking me all these questions. And then he said, well, can you get yourself down to the surgery? And I said, I'm in bed. I can't get out of bed. I said, I was in crisis. I was, I explained that I was off work. I mean, he would have seen that from my records. I said, look, I'm off work. I've got crippling anxiety. I can't even really leave the house much at the moment. At that stage, I was only leaving the house once a week just to go to my therapy appointment, drive there and straight back again. And that was it. And I said, I've been up all night. I've had a bad reaction to this medicine, and I am scared. I'm really, really scared, and I can't get out of bed. And I said, can I not have a home visit? And he wouldn't give me one. And he said, well, I'll call you back at midday and see how you're doing. And then he said to me, do you not have anyone... Because when I said I couldn't come down to the surgery, he said, do you not have a partner or someone that can take you? I said, he's gone to work and he doesn't drive, and it takes him 2 hours on the bus to get to work. And he only left a little while ago, so he won't even be there yet. And then he'd have to come all the way back again, so no. And he said, don't you have any family? And I said, no. I said, me and my partner, we're the only, there's no one else in the county we live in. We don't, neither of us have any family or support network in this county. And And he said, well, what about friends? Surely there's someone that can that can bring you in. And I said, no, I don't have any friends. And he turned around and said to me, well, don't you think you should get some friends? He said, especially at a time like this, don't you think you should have some friends in your life? That's literally what a GP said to me. Who is he to tell me, first of all, how I should live my life and whether I have friends or not? Second of all, that is the most unsupportive thing, that you're talking to a patient who's in crisis, in bed, terrified, crying down the phone, and doesn't have any friends, and is suffering with mental health, and you think it's a sensible thing to turn around and say, well, don't you think you should get some friends? That guy seriously needs some training in how to speak to people. So I was just beside myself. Anyway, cut a long story short, I rang my partner, and he lost it, and he raised a complaint for me. And he rang the surgery and he demanded for a female doctor to bring me back as soon as possible. Anyway, this female doctor rang me back and she was completely different. She was kind, she was sympathetic, she was patient with me. She explained things to me on the phone. She said to me, look, it's in your system. There's nothing we can do about the one you've already taken. And I know you're feeling horrible with it, but trust me, you're not going to die. You're okay. You'll be okay. Unfortunately, it can take 24 to 48 hours for it to come out of your system, but you'll be okay. She said, if you're really, really concerned, obviously call us back or ring 111, but you'll be fine. You just need to wait for it to come out of your system. She said, I know the symptoms are not very nice. She said, we'll make a note that you've had an adverse, severe reaction to this medication. We won't give it to you again. She said, don't take any more. But I mean, that is why I have such a bad relationship with the NHS, because every time I've needed them for pretty big stuff, like, my back, and when I was in crisis, that's what you get. And then today, it's like, he's like, well, you're 20 minutes late, and I'm like, I'm 10 minutes early. And he said, do you have a letter? Don't you have your appointment letter that we can look at to check? Because maybe it's an admin error. I said, I didn't receive a letter. It was done by phone. It was a phone call, and I wrote it down straight away. Literally, as she was telling me it on the phone, I wrote it down. So I definitely haven't got it wrong. And then I put it straight on my calendar. And they couldn't fit me in. So pissed off. I'm going to pay to go private if I can, and if I can't, then I'm just going to leave it. My neck is getting better by itself anyway. Your body has an amazing way of healing itself, as within limits, obviously. But it is getting better slowly. I don't have the numbness in my fingers that I used to have. I don't get the pain that radiates down my arm anymore. It seems to be a lot more localised just in my neck here now, whereas it used to radiate all down my arm and I'd get numbness in my fingers. That's gone. So whatever it is getting better. So I'm sure if I just continue to do what I'm doing, which is sleeping, sitting upright to support my neck, don't do anything crazy, don't start running up mountains anytime soon, I'm sure I'll be fine. And they make you wait, so, and I heard him on the phone, and he was like, when he rang through to the main department, he was like, is there anything we could do to try and get her in, a different slot, or could she maybe wait in case there's a cancellation, because she is written down as urgent? And I'm thinking, urgent? This waiting time is urgent? Bollocks. How is 3 months urgent, may I ask? How is 3 months urgent? My neck's healed itself in that time. They probably would have scanned me and been like, oh, there's nothing wrong with you. I'll be like, well, yeah, that's because it's been so freaking long. They are about as useless as a chocolate teapot, seriously. And I know that they save lives, and I know that they do an amazing job for people most of the time. And we're very lucky that we have the healthcare system that we do, because there are some countries that obviously have insurance and people can't afford the insurance, and so then they can't get healthcare, either that or they end up being in debt for the rest of their life. I get all of that, but I'm just incredibly frustrated. I'm pissed off. I just feel like they treat you like, I don't feel like they believe you half the time, and then I don't know. Anyway, rambled on long enough. I just had to get that off my chest this morning, because, you know, it's like, oh, great start to the weekend, get up early for this bloody scan, and then it's not even happening. I could have stayed in bed. I could have stayed in bed. Oh well, there's nothing I can do about it now. I'm going to go home, make myself a coffee. I'm going to have some breakfast. See to my cats, because they're both out. They were both dying to go out the door first thing this morning, which I'm surprised by, because it's freezing. But I shall see if they want to come back in. I'm sure they will. Well, by the time I get in the door, they'll both be there waiting to come back in. And I'm going to have a shower, because I sweated so much on that walk. I think I'm going to go and have a shower. And then I'm going to try and enjoy myself. I'm going to have a nice walk later on the beach and chill out. And, well, I mean, I've got some house chores to do, but other than that, I am going to try and enjoy myself. And, sorry, slipping down. My hand is aching so bad. Yeah, I'm just going to try and enjoy the rest of my weekend. But, sucks. Oh, well. Thanks for listening to my rant, if you're still here and haven't switched off by now. I'll release a much cheerier video later on today. I've got a little mini Tesco haul that is an old one that I meant to have already released that I didn't, so I shall upload that in a little while, so bear with me, and that will be coming soon. Thanks for listening, if you are still here. Just needed to get that off my chest. So, catch you later, guys.